It is finally here, the album that we thought would never come out. Christina Aguilera's seventh album, Liberation, is finally here. Hello guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope you're gonna enjoy it. My name is Kian and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to react to Christina Aguilera's long-awaited album Liberation. It has been 6 years since her last offering, Lotus, which in my opinion wasn't a good album at all. Christina Aguilera is an artist that I really like because when I was a kid she was one of the first artists that I really connected with. I really liked a mix of R&B and pop, and I also liked the album Bionic, which I thought was a very interesting piece of pop music, even though it wasn't so much focused on R&B, but he had some very nice R&B slow jams, I have to say. But overall, I've always really loved how Christina Aguilera is a daring artist, and all her music is always really good, and her albums have a concept and are always so interesting and so rich, and of course a voice is something that is completely out of this world. So I've been waiting for Liberation for a long time too. Lotus is not an album that I like. I think it's a very bad album. I don't even consider it as Christina Aguilera's album, but that's another story. I'm very excited about this album. I have huge expectation, I'm not gonna lie. I also know that Nas released an album today, so this is also gonna be very interesting, and I'm also very excited about it. I'll react to it later. I know Kanye West produced some of the tracks. I know there are Tyler Paak is somewhere also, she wrote a track. There are a lot of interesting names, there are a lot of interesting producers. Christina Aguilera always works with very special individuals, very, unique artists. The collaboration that I'm looking forward to the most is of course a collaboration with Paak. I know he produced 2 songs. One of the songs I've already heard. But anyway, let's start this reaction. Christina Aguilera is great when it comes to introductions, when it comes to interludes, so this is no disappointment. From this intro, I feel like I can expect a very personal and reflective album. I'm gonna jump straight into the next track. It's called Searching for Maria. Actually, it's an interlude. I think it builds into Maria, which is the 3rd song. Kind of weird way to start the album on an intro than on an interlude, but that's Christina Aguilera, so that's not that surprising. So I'm gonna listen to both Searching for Maria and Maria. Okay. It's an acapella from The Sound of Music. Oh, is that Michael Jackson? Yeah. How was I supposed to know that it would cost my soul? Is that the price that I'm paying? I wanna feel it. All my life with you, so young to know the difference. Oh my Lord, can you take away this heavy load? I can't carry it anymore. Oh, I really like the outro. I like the contrast of it. Who the is Maria? I thought it was a good way to start the album. Maria is a good song to start off things. I don't feel unbelievably moved by it, but I think it was interesting. The production definitely was really interesting. I liked the Michael Jackson sample. I really liked the drama of it all. It was really interesting. It sounded like a good follow-up to the Liberation intro. It's a very interesting way to start the album, actually, with the intro, the interlude, then the song. It just builds into each song so perfectly. Now I'm going to listen to Sick of Sitting, which I think is one of the songs that Anderson .Paak produced. I am ready. Yeah. Oh, I really like this chorus. Oh, this is dope. Damn, I didn't know Christina Aguilera could be a rock star. This was dope as hell. It reminded me of Janis Joplin meets Tina Turner. It was great. I really did not expect Christina Aguilera to go down this road for this album. It's really a rock and roll song, and I know there are a lot of rock and roll fans who might hate me for this, but I'm sorry, this is what I call rock and roll. There is soul to it. There is a quality that you can find in other rock songs. This is rock and roll, and this was beautiful. It really reminded me of Janis Joplin, a bit of Tina Turner, as I said before. It also somehow reminded me of Stripped for some reason. I don't know, kind of, maybe because Fighter was like a guitar heavy or something. Maybe that's it. Of course, it reminded me of Anderson .Paak and the Nationals. He produced it, you can definitely feel it, especially on the chorus. But it also reminded me that time when Christina Aguilera sang, performed, I should say, with the Rolling Stones. It was in a movie called Shine Light. It was a concert they did in a small venue years ago, but they made a DVD out of it, a film. Sorry, I'm old school, I'm still watching DVDs, but I remember watching this when I was very young, back when it came out. It must have been 2008 or something, and I was just blown away by Christina Aguilera, and that's when I really started getting into music. So I feel like Sick of Sitting is almost personal to me. So the next track, Dreamers, is only 37 seconds long. So I think it might be an interlude, and it builds into Fall in Line we've heard before. So I'm gonna listen to both of the songs.
I want to be a singer.
I want to be a boss.
I want to be a doctor.
I want to be the boss.
I am strong. I want to grow up and be president.
I want to be president.
This was cute and interesting at the same time.
Little girls, listen closely. 'Cause no one told me that you deserve to know. Show some skin, make him want you. 'Cause
Demi Lovato sounds actually really good on this track. Not that she sounds awful usually, but I really like her voice on this track. I love this part so much. It's kind of creepy but so good at the same time. Holy shit, how much do I love this song? It's so good. I know it's more like of a female empowerment track, but it just speaks to so many people. Well, it speaks to me somehow, but it just works so well. It's so well done. The production is, I don't know, it's so interesting. It uses elements that you could see in a song playing on the radio right now, with elements that are a bit edgier, that are a little bit like something you wouldn't hear somewhere else. I think there's really a mix between something that is so pop and so perfectly pop, and at the same time something that is really edgy and almost experimental. Almost, I said almost. I love how you have elements, guitars here and there, especially on the second chorus. You have like a little guitar in the back, which helps make Demi Lovato's voice even better. And there's also elements in the track which almost reminds me of Motown. Like there are guitars in the back that really reminds me of Motown somehow, but they are mixed with elements that are so, you know, from now, that are so modern. Production wise, it's a very very good song. I also really liked the both of the artists' performance on the song. Christina Aguilera, of course, gives everything that she has. You can really feel that this song means a lot to her, that it's really personal. But I also have to praise Demi Lovato's performance on the song because I've heard the solo version. Yes, I'm that kind of person who listens to leaks. Sorry. I thought, oh, how can Demi Lovato compliment this song? And I thought a performance is really good as it's really sexy, and it's interesting because it comes to, on a part where she's talking about show some skin and being feeling free and liberated in your body, you know. And I think her performance is really really strong, and the voice come together so beautifully. What is good about the vocal performance too is that, of course, they are doing way too much, but at the same time it's exactly perfect on this song, and it just feels like it comes really from the heart, and it feels really meaningful, so it doesn't bother me at all on this track. To be honest, it's the perfect track to use as the lead single. I think that's what happened for this one, even though there were singles before. I do not understand why this song is not all over the radio, because Christina Aguilera is a woman and she's over 30, so of course the radio won't play her. But I really think this track should deserve more success because it's a very very good pop song, and it's a track we really need at the moment. It feels really honest. It feels like something that wasn't made as a gimmick. Ooh. Oh, I like that. I like how she plays with the vocals on that one. This was so nice. Oh, I'm extremely surprised by this album. Of course, this song kind of reminded me of No Doubt for some reason, especially Underneath It All, which is a song that I really, really love. But also, for some reason, I was picturing Drake dancing to Outline Bling in my mind, listening to this song. So I don't know what it means because, you know, I know Outline Bling has elements of dancehall, but yeah, there's no link between Right Moves and Outline Bling. Like, let's be honest, I don't know why, but sometimes I'm weird. You really have to praise Christina Aguilera for pushing her limits. This was definitely not something that I expected her to make on this album. I really didn't expect her to go down this road, to try to be so eclectic and try genres that she never has tried before. I also really like how she included artists that we don't know about. At least I don't know about, but I feel like a lot of people are not familiar with. This is something that I really, really appreciate, and the energy was so great. The next song is called Like I Do. It features God Link, and it's produced by Anderson .Paak. I've already heard this song, and I have to say that I really like the fact that Christina Aguilera worked with God Link. I was not expecting this once again. I also really like that this is produced by Anderson .Paak. So.
Heather, yes, Heather, talk to the reverend, but I know you better fucking, I'm tryna fuck. Existence, you the moon under the sun. She need in my bottles, I'm tryna rub on your hips. Ain't no other man who can talk to you like I did. That's real. Baby, you can do it quite like I do. I do. Like I do. I mean, I want, but just might have to show you. Okay, we can get along. We can move again and get it on. Where you wanna be, I'll be. Baby, you can do it quite like I do.
Even though when it first came out, I wasn't amazed by this song. Dang, do I like it now? The production, man, that was something. Anderson .Paak totally killed it on that track. The production is at the same time very simplistic, but at the same time so good. I really like Goldlink being on it. His verse is really really nice. I really like the little parts where he references Christina Aguilera's hits. Also, I really like Christina Aguilera's performance on that track. It's at the same time sensual and badass, and she never tries to show off a voice too much, and that's something I really appreciate. I like the contrast between Fall in Line when she lets all out, and Like I Do when she's just very almost bossy, but in a very sexy way. I actually really also like the lyrics of it because you don't exactly know what it's about. It could be a song about, you know, talking about, let's say, sexual intercourse. I mean, we can Marvin Gaye and Get It On, it says it all. But at the same time, I almost feel like she talks to, you know, people in the industry or people that think they can come for her, like they can attack her, especially young artists who would discredit her. I feel like there's almost a double entendre in this song that like you could interpret it both ways. And man, that production, holy shit.
Sometimes I don't think I deserve you, so I say some up shit just to hurt you.
Ooh. Oh, I really like her voice on this track. Oh, it really feels heartfelt. Like it really feels like it comes from the heart what she's singing about. It's interesting that the first ballad of the album is still kind of up tempo. I wouldn't say it's up tempo, but it still has a very effective beat behind it. Like it's definitely is a very pop song. It's not just a ballad. It might not be my favorite from this album because the rest of the tracks were so strong, but it really shows how diverse Christina Aguilera can be and how eclectic this album is, and I really appreciate that.
Sometimes I wonder what is the meaning of this life. I found the prize and never lost my mind.
This sounds so heavenly, almost a bit religious. I can definitely picture a church in my head.
Oh, my danger, 'cause that's just what I need, but it still hurts me. Ooh,
I don't know if that's possible, but this song sounded even better on the album. It sounded even more emotional, it sounded even rawer, especially when you compare it to the rest of the songs, which all have very nice productions and very, you know, productions that, you know, were very, very thought about. Like, this definitely was a huge work on the production and the rest of the tracks, but on this track, what shines is the songwriting, and of course Christina Aguilera's vocals. But the songwriting on this track is it's beautiful. It's really a very deep and heavy track at the same time. It feels really emotional. I love how the song goes full circle. It starts with Christina Aguilera singing very deeply. Sometimes I wonder what is the meaning of this life, and then the song really starts. It's not an a cappella anymore. it really goes into, and Christina Aguilera shows how much, really shows the strength of a voice and how powerful it is. And then at the end, it's almost like as like an answer to the beginning of the song. It's almost as if she was asking a question at the beginning of the song, as if she was questioning herself, life, the world that is around her. At the end of the track, she found the answer. Or maybe not. She maybe didn't find the answer, but at least she has a clearer vision of who she is. I really like a lot. She really plays with a cappella on this album. It's interesting to sometimes have great production and then just a cappella that focused on her voice and what she has to say. Oh yes.
Another shot, you coming home with me? Fuck all these girls, fuck all these clubs, what's wrong with me? Ass Kelly, ooh, girl, with a cash check. Don't forget the hashtag, credit, so did it, work it out. Just remember, get the money, my ability, until the end, 2000
That's, by the way, my favorite part of the song. This song is so incredible. I've gotta praise Ty Dolla $ign, and I know a lot of people won't agree with me, but I gotta praise him because I love his vocals on this track. It's just so great. I know a lot of people think it sounds terrible. I love how both of their voices come together, and 2 Chainz verse just adds another appeal to the song. And I like how Christina Aguilera completely played around this idea of asking 2 very independent artists to collaborate with her on a track and just make the sound edgy and unique, and you almost, maybe not to change, but Ty Dolla $ign, you almost think, who is this new artist? I've never heard of him before. He has no autotune, and that's so interesting. And I love how raw this track is, because it's raw. The entire album is actually raw, and I like how she asked Ty Dolla $ign to not use autotune and as have his raw voice on the track. It's, to me, it's actually genius. Like, this song is actually genius. It's pop genius at its finest, and it's just so great. I feel like this is gonna be right up my alley. I like the flow of the verse.
Spread it on the bed like a patient. I'm about to show you domination. I get low when you put that pipe down, pipe down, pipe down. I wanna celebrate you right now, right now, right now.
Yep, definitely right up my alley. This is definitely a song that I'm gonna listen to a lot. It's interesting to have an artist that no one knows about on this track, but the song sounds really, really good. I mean, it's just a perfect R&B song to me with a bit of pop. I've actually not a lot of things to say about it because I've just enjoyed it really, really much. Oh, this is like an 80s ballad almost. Is it gonna be like a bit retro? Ooh, that's interesting, the switch between the rest of the song. While Christina Aguilera is definitely right at home on this kind of tracks, it's this kind of pop song with a bit of soul and R&B to it, but really a bit, mostly because it's Christina singing, and Christina has a lot of soul in her voice. That's not the most interesting song on the album, we're not gonna lie, but I enjoyed it. I thought her performance was really beautiful. I liked all the production, didn't try to do too much and let Christina Aguilera being the center of this track. They definitely could have added a lot of drama to this track, but I don't think that would have been really necessary nor interesting, and I don't think that it was their intention. So I think that's a nice song, definitely not the most interesting song on the album, but still a track that I really enjoyed. I feel like this is gonna be the ballad for the end.
I've been thinking out loud about the way that people change. The most beautiful beginnings can go down in flames. I don't know what picket fences and roses and a wedding dress. Fairy tales of fake happiness, but here we are and I must confess, I don't wanna get married unless it's with you, unless it's with you.
That's actually kind of cute.
Been losing my mind, don't know what to do. 'Cause I don't wanna get married unless it's with you, unless it's with you. Unless it's with you.
Now that's how you close an album. That was a perfect way to close the album, really. It summed up all of the album pretty much, her feeling liberated, being honest, being vulnerable, but at the same time very strong-minded. I couldn't have, it's really just the perfect way to close the album. So I'm gonna conclude, I'm gonna talk about the album as a whole. Christina Aguilera decided to follow her instinct and stop trying to please labels, what she was doing on Lotus, I guess, and she just did a thing, and thank the Lord that she did, because Stripped was a great album, Back to Basics was a great album, Bionic was a great album too. All of these albums, they have one thing in common, the fact that Christina Aguilera decided to do a thing, to tell a truth, to have concepts, to try new things musically, to push the boundaries, and that's why these albums were great. What I loved so much about this album, and it actually kind of reminds me of Anti by Rihanna in that extent, is that on the production, I feel like Christina Aguilera really mixed elements that are very pop, that are very popular, that are almost a bit, yes, radio friendly, especially like, for example, I was talking about Fall in Line. I also think about Like I Do, but she mixes it with things that are, I don't know if edgy is the right word for it, but things that are not experimental, but that are not as radio friendly, that is not something that you're gonna hear on the radio, that a lot of people might, well, if they listen to it, at least if the general audience listen to it, might think it's weird. It reminds me of Rihanna with songs like Kiss It Better, which is in a way the perfect pop song and at the same time the anti-pop song. Because its production is completely disconstructed. I really like how she took risk on this album, and how she made an album that is very eclectic and yet cohesive at the same time. All of the songs really built into each other perfectly, but at the same time each song was different from the others. Like, there's definitely not one song on the album that I feel like, oh, this sounds like the other song up there on the playlist, on the track list. Like, absolutely nothing sounds the same. I also think her vocal performance was perfect on this album because she was screaming on the previous one, Lotus. Oh god, this album was awful, my god. Here she sometimes shows that she's a powerhouse. Of course, she has to, but at the same time, I don't feel she ever does too much, and I think she does it perfectly. Like, a vocal performance is really based on emotion, on what is heartfelt, on really delivering the message of each song. Now I'm going to talk about my favorite tracks of the album, and to be honest, I have a bit of a hard time to pick some. One I have to pick, I'm sorry, but Accelerate, I have to pick that one. Of course I have to pick Sick of Sitting because this was dope as hell. I was not expecting this at all. It really made me even more excited about the album. It came right after Maria, which didn't have me like underwhelmed, but it wasn't like the most incredible song that I was expecting to hear. But Sick of Sitting was just something else. It's something that I felt like Christina Aguilera never done before. And also Anderson Paak produced it, so of course I have to pick it as a favorite. And then I'm gonna pick Pipe, because even though it's not the most interesting song on the album, it's definitely a song that I'm gonna listen to over and over again. Overall, it's very difficult to pick a favorite, and it means a lot about an album. And that's all I'm gonna say to close this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy my reaction to Liberation, and I hope you have some reactions of yourself to share. I'm really curious to know what you think of this new album by Christina Aguilera. I know a lot of people were waiting for it, so I really want to know if you had any expectations for it. Did it meet your expectations? What were your favorite tracks? What do you think of the album? I'm really here to hear your thoughts, to share my thoughts, but also to hear your thoughts. So let's keep the conversation going. You can also leave in the comment sections suggestions of things I should react to. I'm always looking for new music to discover, so please tell me if I should react to something in particular, if you think I could like. I listen to mainly R&B, but I also really like hip-hop. I like pop music too. I listen to a bit of pop. I love soul music, but I'm open-minded. I like a lot of different genres. I'll see you next time. Take care.